What makes some companies rise above the rest, achieving greatness that endures, while others remain stuck in mediocrity? Is it luck, timing, or a single brilliant idea? Jim Collins, in his landmark book Good to Great, argues otherwise. He shows that greatness is not a matter of circumstance, it's a matter of choice and discipline. Collins and his team spent 5 years analyzing over 1,400 companies, searching for the rare few that made the leap from being merely good to truly great, and sustained that success for at least 15 years. Out of this massive study, only 11 companies qualified. What set them apart was not flashy leadership, revolutionary technology, or dramatic change. Instead, it was a consistent application of timeless principles that built momentum slowly, like turning a giant flywheel until it spun almost effortlessly. In this audiobook summary, we'll explore the key lessons from Good to Great, the power of humble yet determined leadership, the importance of getting the right people on the bus, the discipline to confront brutal facts, and the clarity of the Hedgehog Concept. These ideas are not just for corporations, they apply to anyone striving for lasting excellence. Theme 1. Level 5 Leadership, the power of humble determination. When we think of great leaders, the image that often comes to mind is bold charisma, commanding speeches, and a personality that dominates the room. Yet Jim Collins discovered something surprising in his research. The leaders who transformed companies from good to great were not larger-than-life figures. They were quiet, humble, and often modest to the point of being overlooked. And yet, beneath that humility burned an unshakable determination to build something extraordinary. Collins called them Level 5 leaders. A Level 5 leader is a paradox. On one hand, they show deep personal humility. They don't crave the spotlight, they don't chase fame, and they rarely make themselves the center of attention. On the other hand, they possess an almost ferocious professional will. They will stop at nothing to ensure the success of their company, not for personal glory, but because they believe in the mission and the people behind it. Collins contrasts these leaders with the more common celebrity CEO. While the celebrity leader might make headlines, their companies often falter once they leave. Level 5 leaders, however, build organizations that thrive long after they're gone. Their legacy is not their name, it's the enduring greatness of the institution they helped shape. Take Darwin Smith, the CEO of Kimberly-Clark. When he took over, the company was struggling. Smith made the bold decision to sell the company's paper mills, its core business at the time, and invest in consumer paper products like Kleenex and Huggies. It was a risky move, and many doubted him. But Smith wasn't driven by ego. He was driven by what was best for the company. Over his 20 years of leadership, Kimberly-Clark outperformed giants like Procter & Gamble and became the leading consumer paper company in the world. Smith himself remained humble, often describing himself as ordinary, yet his results were but ordinary. Level 5 leaders also share credit generously. When things go well, they often attribute the success to their team, their employees, or even luck. But when things go wrong, they take responsibility for themselves. This creates a culture of trust and accountability where people feel safe to innovate and push boundaries. Perhaps the most inspiring aspect of Level 5 leadership is that it's not reserved for a chosen few. Collins argues that anyone can cultivate it. It's about shifting focus from personal ambition to collective success. It's about asking, how can I build something that lasts beyond me? In a world obsessed with personal branding and instant recognition, Level 5 leadership is a reminder that true greatness is quiet, steady, and enduring. It's not about being the loudest voice in the room, it's about being the most committed to the cause. And that commitment paired with humility, is what turns good companies into great ones. Theme 2. First who, then what? People before strategy. When most organizations face a challenge, their instinct is to ask, what's our strategy? What's our plan? Jim Collins flips that thinking on its head. In Good to Great, he argues that the path to greatness doesn't begin with a brilliant idea or a perfect roadmap. It begins with people. His mantra is simple but powerful. First who, then what? Imagine a company as a bus. Most leaders start by deciding where the bus should go, what markets to enter, what products to launch, what vision to pursue. Then they scramble to find people to drive the bus in that direction. Collins discovered that great companies do the opposite. They focus first on getting the right people on the bus, the wrong people off, and the right people in the right seats. Only then do they decide where to drive. Why does this matter? Because when you have the right people, you don't need to constantly motivate them. They are self-driven, disciplined, and aligned with the company's values. With the wrong people, even the best strategy will collapse under the weight of poor execution. Strategy can change, markets can shift, but the right people remain adaptable and resilient. Collins highlights Wells Fargo as an example. During turbulent times in the banking industry, Wells Fargo didn't obsess over predicting the future of deregulation. Instead, they focused relentlessly on hiring and retaining the best talent. When the industry shifted, Wells Fargo's people were ready to adapt, and the company surged ahead of competitors. This principle also emphasizes discipline. Flashy strategies and grand visions may look impressive, but without disciplined people to carry them out, they're just words on paper. Great companies understand that talent and discipline are the true engines of progress. They don't waste time dragging along individuals who aren't aligned. Removing the wrong people may feel harsh, but it's essential to create a culture where excellence thrives. Another key insight is that the right people don't need to be tightly managed. Instead of micromanaging, leaders can trust their teams to make smart decisions. This creates freedom within a framework. Employees feel empowered, yet accountable. It's a culture where responsibility is shared and innovation flourishes. Think about it in your own life. If you surround yourself with the right people, friends, colleagues, mentors, you don't need a detailed plan for every step. Together, you'll figure out the direction. But if you're surrounded by the wrong influences, even the best plan will falter. Ultimately, first who, then what, is a reminder that greatness is built on human foundations. Before chasing the next big idea, ask, do I have the right people on my bus? Because once you do, the destination will reveal itself, and the journey will be unstoppable. Theme 3. Confront the brutal facts, the courage to face reality. One of the most striking lessons from Good to Great is the importance of confronting reality head-on. Jim Collins discovered that great companies don't shy away from uncomfortable truths. Instead, they embrace them. They look at the harshest facts of their situation, no matter how painful, and use those facts as the foundation for disciplined decisions. Collins calls this principle confront the brutal facts. It's about cultivating a culture where truth is heard, where data is respected, and where leaders don't hide behind optimism or denial. Great companies understand that ignoring reality doesn't make it disappear. It only makes the eventual reckoning harder. Take the example of Kroger, the grocery chain. In the mid-20th century, supermarkets were changing rapidly. Traditional stores were becoming obsolete. While many competitors clung to the old model, Kroger confronted the brutal fact: the future was in modern, full-service supermarkets. They made the tough decision to close down their old stores and invest heavily in new formats. It was painful, but it was honest. And that honesty propelled Kroger to become one of the most successful grocery chains in America.
Collins contrasts this with A&P, another grocery giant at the time. A&P refused to face the brutal facts. They stuck with outdated stores, ignored shifting consumer preferences, and eventually collapsed. The difference wasn't intelligence, it was courage. Confronting brutal facts also requires creating an environment where truth can be spoken freely. Collins emphasizes the importance of dialogue and debate. In great companies, employees feel safe to raise concerns, challenge assumptions, and present data, even if it contradicts leadership's vision. Leaders don't punish dissent, they welcome it, because only by hearing the truth can they make the right decisions. This principle ties closely to what Collins calls the Stockdale paradox, named after Admiral Jim Stockdale, a prisoner of war in Vietnam. Stockdale survived years of brutal captivity by balancing two realities: unwavering faith that he would prevail in the end, and the discipline to confront the brutal facts of his current situation. He didn't sugarcoat the suffering, but he never lost hope. Great companies adopt the same mindset. They confront today's challenges honestly while maintaining faith in their ultimate success. For leaders, this means resisting the temptation to paint a rosy picture. It means asking tough questions. What's really happening in our market? Where are we failing? What do the numbers say? And then listening, truly listening to the answers. In the end, confronting brutal facts is not about pessimism. It's about clarity. It's about building a foundation of truth so that every decision is grounded in reality. Greatness doesn't come from wishful thinking. It comes from disciplined action based on facts. So whether you're leading a company, a team, or your own personal journey, remember this: face the truth, no matter how hard it is, because only by confronting the brutal facts can you build the path from good to great.
Theme 4. The Hedgehog Concept. Simplicity that drives greatness. In Good to Great, Jim Collins introduces one of the most memorable ideas in the book, the Hedgehog Concept. It's based on an ancient parable. The fox knows many things, but the hedgehog knows one big thing. When attacked, the fox tries clever tricks, but the hedgehog simply curls into a ball of sharp spines. Simple, consistent, effective. Great companies, Collins argues, are like hedgehogs. They don't chase every opportunity or spread themselves thin across dozens of strategies. Instead, they focus relentlessly on one clear concept that guides everything they do. This concept sits at the intersection of three circles. What you can be the best in the world at. Not what you want to be the best at, but what you truly could be the best at. What drives your economic engine? The single factor that most powerfully impacts profitability and growth. What you are deeply passionate about. The work that ignites energy and commitment across the organization. When a company identifies the overlap of these three circles, it finds its hedgehog concept, the simple, guiding idea that shapes all decisions. Consider Walgreens. For years, it was just another drugstore chain. But Walgreens discovered its hedgehog concept, convenience. They realized they could be the best at convenient drugstores, with locations on busy corners, easy parking, and quick service. That clarity drove every decision. Walgreens didn't try to be everything to everyone. They focused on convenience, and as a result, they outperformed competitors by a wide margin. Contrast this with companies that act like foxes. They chase trends, diversify endlessly, and spread themselves too thin. Without a clear hedgehog concept, they lack focus and consistency. Their energy is scattered, and their results are mediocre. The hedgehog concept also applies beyond business. For individuals, it's about finding the sweet spot between your talents, your passions, and the work that sustains you. When you discover that intersection, you unlock a path to personal greatness.
Collins emphasizes that the hedgehog concept is not a quick fix. It requires deep reflection, honest assessment, and sometimes painful choices. Companies may need to abandon areas where they can't be the best, even if those areas are profitable. The discipline lies in saying no to distractions and yes to the one big thing that truly matters. In the end, the hedgehog concept is about simplicity. Greatness doesn't come from complexity or clever tricks. It comes from clarity, focus, and consistency. Like the hedgehog, great companies know one big thing, and they stick to it. Theme 5. Culture of discipline. Freedom within a framework. One of the most powerful lessons in Good to Great is the idea of creating a culture of discipline. Jim Collins discovered that great companies don't succeed because of bureaucracy or rigid rules. They succeed because they cultivate disciplined people who engage in disciplined thought and take disciplined action. At first glance, discipline might sound restrictive, but Collins shows that true discipline actually creates freedom. When you have the right people, self-motivated, responsible, and aligned with the company's values, you don't need endless layers of control. Instead, you give people freedom within a framework. They know what needs to be done, and they have the discipline to do it consistently. Think of it like a jazz band. Each musician has the freedom to improvise, but they all follow the same rhythm and key. The result is harmony, not chaos. In great companies, employees are empowered to act, but their actions are guided by a shared culture of discipline. Collins contrasts this with companies that rely on bureaucracy. Bureaucracy arises when you have the wrong people on the bus. Leaders then feel the need to impose rules, micromanage, and control every detail. But when you have the right people, discipline becomes self-sustaining. No one needs to be constantly monitored because everyone is committed to excellence. A striking example is Nucor, the steel company. Nucor built its success not on complex strategies, but on a culture of discipline. Employees were given freedom to innovate and improve processes, but they were also held accountable for results. This balance of freedom and responsibility created one of the most efficient and profitable steel companies in the world. Collins emphasizes that discipline must extend to decision-making. Great companies resist the temptation to chase every opportunity. They stay focused on their hedgehog concept, their one big thing, and apply discipline to say no to distractions. This consistency builds momentum over time. For individuals, the lesson is just as powerful. Discipline is not about rigid routines or harsh self-control. It's about clarity of purpose and the commitment to act on it every day. When you align your actions with your values and goals, discipline becomes liberating. It frees you from wasted effort and keeps you moving steadily toward greatness. In the end, a culture of discipline is about balance. Freedom without discipline leads to chaos. Discipline without freedom leads to bureaucracy. But when you combine freedom with discipline, you create an environment where people thrive, innovation flourishes, and greatness becomes possible. Theme 6. Technology Accelerators. Tools, not drivers of greatness. In today's world, it's easy to believe that technology is the ultimate key to success. Companies chase the latest innovations, hoping that a new system, app, or platform will transform them overnight. But Jim Collins discovered something surprising in Good to Great. Technology alone does not make a company great. Instead, great companies use technology as an accelerator of momentum, not as the primary driver. Collins found that good to great companies were rarely the first to adopt flashy new technologies. They didn't jump on every trend or rush to implement the latest tools. Instead, they asked a deeper question. Does this technology fit with our hedgehog concept? If the answer was yes, they embraced it wholeheartedly. If not, they ignored it, even if competitors were rushing ahead. Take the example of Walgreens. Their hedgehog concept was convenience. When technology emerged that could make prescription refills faster and more accessible, Walgreens adopted it aggressively. But they didn't chase technology for technology's sake. Every investment was measured against their core focus, making the customer's experience more convenient. On the other hand, companies that failed often treated technology as a magic bullet. They believed that adopting the newest system would solve deeper problems. But without disciplined people, disciplined thought, and a clear hedgehog concept, technology became a distraction rather than a solution. Collins emphasizes that technology is never the cause of greatness. It is a tool that magnifies strengths or weaknesses. In a disciplined company, technology accelerates progress. In an undisciplined company, it accelerates chaos. This principle also applies to individuals. Think about how often we chase the latest productivity apps, gadgets, or tools. But if we lack clarity about our goals, those tools don't make us more effective, they just make us busier. True effectiveness comes from knowing what matters most, then using technology to amplify that focus. Great companies also show restraint. They don't adopt technology out of fear of being left behind. They adopt it because it serves their mission. This discipline prevents wasted resources and keeps them aligned with their long-term vision. In the end, the lesson is clear. Technology is not the driver of greatness. People, discipline, and focus are. Technology simply helps you go faster in the direction you're already heading. If you're on the right path, it accelerates success. If you're on the wrong path, it accelerates failure. So whether you're leading a company or shaping your own life, remember this. Don't chase technology for its own sake. First, find your hedgehog concept. Build a culture of discipline. Then, when the right technology comes along, use it as an accelerator to propel you from good to great.
Theme 7. The Flywheel Effect. Momentum that builds greatness. When Jim Collins studied companies that made the leap from good to great, he noticed something fascinating. Their transformation wasn't marked by one dramatic breakthrough moment. There was no single decision, no miracle product, no overnight success story. Instead, greatness emerged gradually, through steady, disciplined effort. Collins calls this the flywheel effect. Imagine a giant, heavy flywheel, an enormous metal disc weighing thousands of pounds. At first, pushing it feels impossible. You strain, you sweat, and it barely moves. But with each push, it turns a little more. Slowly, momentum builds. Push after push, the wheel begins to spin faster. Eventually, it whirls with unstoppable force. The breakthrough wasn't a single push. It was the cumulative effect of many small pushes over time. That's how great companies achieve success. They don't rely on one defining moment. They build momentum through consistent discipline, aligned decisions, and relentless focus. Each small step compounds into something extraordinary. Collins contrasts this with what he calls the doom loop. Companies stuck in the doom loop chase quick fixes. They lurch from one strategy to another, hoping for instant results. They hire a flashy CEO, launch a trendy product, or announce a bold restructuring. But because they lack consistency, they never build momentum. The wheel slows down and they start over again. Always busy, but never great. An example of the flywheel effect is Amazon. In its early years, Amazon focused relentlessly on customer experience, better selection, lower prices, faster delivery. Each improvement attracted more customers, which attracted more sellers, which improved selection even further.
Over time, this cycle created unstoppable momentum. Amazon didn't become great overnight. It became great through thousands of disciplined pushes on its flywheel. The flywheel effect also applies to individuals. Success in life rarely comes from one big moment. It comes from daily habits, consistent effort, and persistence. Whether you're building a career, a skill, or a personal project, greatness is the result of steady progress. Each small push matters. Collins emphasizes that leaders must resist the temptation to declare victory too soon. The flywheel takes time to build momentum, but once it does, it becomes nearly impossible to stop. Great companies don't ask, "When will we have our breakthrough?" Instead, they ask, "How can we keep pushing the flywheel today?" In the end, the flywheel effect is a reminder that greatness is not an event, it's a process. It's not about sudden leaps, but about consistent pushes. And when those pushes align with discipline, focus, and the Hedgehog Concept, the result is unstoppable momentum. So whether you're leading a company or pursuing personal goals, remember this: keep pushing the flywheel, day after day, step by step, because greatness is not built in a moment, it's built over time. Conclusion. As we've journeyed through Jim Collins' Good to Great, one truth has become clear. Greatness is not a matter of luck, nor is it achieved through one dramatic breakthrough. It is built step by step, through discipline, humility, and relentless focus. We began with Level 5 leadership, where true leaders blend quiet humility with fierce determination. They don't chase personal fame, they build legacies that endure. Then we explored First Who, Then What, the reminder that success starts with people. Get the right people on the bus, the wrong people off, and only then decide where to drive. Greatness also demands honesty. Confront the Brutal Facts teaches us that facing reality, no matter how painful, is the foundation of wise decisions. From there, we discovered the Hedgehog Concept, the power of simplicity, focusing on what you can be the best at, what drives your economic engine, and what you are deeply passionate about. But clarity alone is not enough. A culture of discipline ensures that freedom is balanced with responsibility, creating an environment where excellence thrives. And while technology often dazzles, Collins reminds us through Technology Accelerators that tools don't create greatness, they amplify it. Finally, we arrived at the Flywheel Effect, the ultimate lesson. Greatness is not an event, but a process. Each push, each disciplined action builds momentum until success becomes unstoppable. So what does this mean for us? Whether you're leading a company, building a career, or pursuing personal goals, the path from good to great is open to anyone. It requires humility, discipline, focus, and persistence. It requires the courage to face facts, the wisdom to choose the right people, and the patience to keep pushing the flywheel day after day. Greatness is not reserved for the extraordinary few. It is available to all who choose the path of discipline and perseverance. And that is the enduring message of Good to Great. With the right principles, any good endeavor can become truly great. If you enjoyed this audiobook summary and want more timeless lessons like this, don't forget to hit that like button. It really helps the channel grow. Subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss the next story that could change the way you think and lead. And if this message resonated with you, share it with a friend who's ready to go from good to great. Your support keeps this channel alive, and together we can build a community of lifelong learners.